Back to the Banger Bar for this week's edition of Lock Horns, where every week we rip apart, tear apart, and try to put back together the infamous heavy metal family tree that we at Banger Films created many years ago for our first film, Metal: A Headbanger's Journey. For all of you watching this on the archive, this is live streamed every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also a reminder, please subscribe to Banger TV. We're trying to build an all-metal global channel. And also we are now the official metal curators at Apple Music, where we create playlists every week based on Lock Horns. Go there and check it out. This week, it's a big one, perhaps even the biggest yet. You got it. Thrash. The biggest chart on the chart. And man, the comments so far have been piling and pounding in all week. There's a lot of opinions and a lot of bands to get through. And to help me, a man who will be joining me soon is none other than Daniel Dekay from the Toronto band Diemonds, who, for those of you who don't know, has some pretty fucking killer thrash pedigree behind him. But before we do that, for those of you who live on a different planet and don't know what time it is, we're gonna go to a clip of a band called Testament to hear what thrash sounds like. Check it out. There we go. None other than Testament live at Heavy MTL last year. Alex, I love you. Don't know about the sunglasses on stage, buddy, but you do fucking rip. Welcome, Daniel Dekay.
Sam,
thanks for doing this with me, man.
Hell yeah, brother.
This guy is a serious thrasher. Babysat Jeff Waters' kid. Can you believe it? How fucking cool is that? How are you?
I'm excellent, man.
Good.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Anytime. Tell me about how you got into thrash.
I think it kind of starts just like everyone else's story. Maiden, Priest, picking up my dad's old cassettes. Sin After Sin was the first one. From there, dove into the metal world and wanted something a little louder, more aggressive, piss off my parents a little more, and into the realm of thrash I dove, and I never looked back.
Is there anything specific about thrash that you like compared to all the other styles of metal? What is it about this that you dig so much?
Absolutely. It's, I mean, you'll catch me at a Cannibal Corpse show any day, but really there was just something about thrash. It was the speed and the aggression, just how concise it all was. It was so focused. It was being good at your instrument, being fast, and just kicking ass. And that's, I think, what every teenager wanted to do when we were listening to metal.
Very well put. I like it. We're off to a good start. But I want to remind everyone here that ultimately it's about you. We want to hear your thoughts on what's on the board or what's not on the board. And more importantly, we want to hear about why you want bands to be added or removed. And I want to give a shout out to everyone joining us from around the world, because thrash is truly global. Holland, a whole bunch of Dutch folks joining us this week. Portugal is back, UK, Finland, Norway, Poland, North Carolina, Riverside County, West San Fran, Texas, and Canadians from coast to coast. That is, of course, East York to North York, and maybe South York, although that doesn't even exist. Okay, and as all of you also know, off camera, we have our producer, Lisa Ladisor, and when she rings this bell, we are Canadian. Thank you, Lisa. When we hear that sound, it's time to move on. Okay, so we like to set some ground rules in Lock Horns when we dive into a new subgenre. So give me your thoughts, Daniel, on what are the characteristics of thrash?
Thrash metal, it's about the speed, it's about aggression, it's about those double kicks, double time snare hits. It's definitely about speed, lyrical themes, it's got to be angry, it's got to be mean, it can deal with depression, feeling like you're a loner, everything to eating pizza and partying. It's just got to be part of that thrash realm that we love so much. And I mean, if you're not wearing a patch vest and wearing a bullet belt and got some Nike high tops, then you might as well just fuck off and get out of the party.
And it's got a real brotherhood vibe to it, of course, because it's the only genre of metal where you get songs that are about metal. Metal Militia, Into the Pit. It's got sort of this we are in it together vibe.
Absolutely. It's the only genre I find that really you get songs, like legendary songs, just singing straight up about metal. Bang your head against a stage like you never did before. Like, come on, like, you don't find that in other genres. You find a lot of different vocal and lyrical themes, but singing straight up about metal, it's an exclusively thing to thrash, I find.
And part of what drew me to it is, unlike a lot of the new Wabam bands before it, thrash kind of ratcheted up the political commentary, maybe stealing a bit from punk. You know, we had bands like Nuclear Assault, sort of Game Over, these great records where it felt, okay, here we've got an extreme genre of metal with something to say. I don't know about you, but that was something I really liked about it too.
It's especially being a big Megadeth guy. I mean, we got Mega Political Man, Mega Dave himself. He's pretty much as political as it gets in thrash metal. So I'm well versed in the political side of it. It's definitely a very prominent lyrical theme in thrash.
Yeah, and from an historical perspective, of course, the history books say that it was a combo of Nawabum, bands like Maiden, Priest, Motorhead, combined with sort of an attitude and a speed of punk. And, you know, so you had, obviously, to state the obvious, the big four, which we all typically agree on: Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, and Slayer. The great four of American thrash. But of course, it's not just about America, and we will get there soon enough. So I think we're all going to agree, except maybe Rye, Pat, Mac, Rock. Don't under any circumstances remove Metallica or any Bay thrash band, or Sam will be damned. Well, too late, mate. I've been damned too many times. Look at me and where I'm standing. But that's another story. Don't worry. We may add some Bay Area thrash bands. Violence. We'll get there soon enough. Okay. Where we like to start, though, is what's wrong with the chart. And prior to today, we've had an outpouring about a couple of bands in particular that people want to debate. The Earthbound Lucifer, welcome. I feel that Anvil and Pantera shouldn't be here. Pantera's a groove metal band, and Anvil, though influential, don't sound anything like thrash, more like traditional heavy metal. We'll go on. Benny Greif or Grief. Pantera are not only groove metal, they are also neo-thrash metal. Here we go. A movement that tried to bring back elements from the early 80s thrash metal, but with a bit more modern sound, in parenthesis, nice grammar, so they deserve a place on this list, in my opinion. Thoughts?
Benny's invited to my barbecue, that's for sure.
Okay, one thing at a time. Anvil.
Anvil.
Let's talk about Anvil. Give me your opinion.
Members of all big four bands have credited Anvil as a major influence to their sound. There's no denying the sound. You know, being in Toronto, we're Toronto people as well. We got to be proud that such an amazing band is from this city. Are they a thrash band? No. Do they have elements of speed metal? Arguable. Were they important to the genre and the roots of it? Abso-fucking-lutely. Without Anvil, James Hetfield to say it himself, there would be no Metallica. Do they belong? Well, I guess that's up to the fine people on the internet.
Abso-fucking-lutely, perhaps the best phrase ever in the history of thrash. Who uttered those words? It's a skill testing question. Maybe I'll give you a magnet if you get it right. Daniel says, I think Anvil is more speed metal. Frank Potvin, Anvil's early drums were thrash before thrash. So proto. Okay, so I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. One, I really don't know what the fuck speed metal is. And if we're talking about influence, Anvil's pretty important. So I'm willing to set them out to the side, but I think they may belong. I don't know. They're such a big influence. And speed metal here's the question, where do we put them? If we don't have them here, where do we put them?
Right, as you talked about with thrash being so heavily influenced by things like punk, which is clearly where the speed influence comes from, at what point do we draw the line between thrash and speed metal? Punks of the world rejoice, speed metal, we're acknowledging speed metal as a genre here right now. Where do you draw that line? That's a very good question.
I don't know. There was a fleeting moment there, I think in the early 80s. I think it was the moment where people didn't know quite what to call it yet, and they called it speed metal. I remember the old Bonsai records with the speed metal logo.
Absolutely.
It was fucking so awesome. Love it, but maybe it was just because we didn't have the lexicon for it yet. Greg Shepard says, Anvil need to go, no question about it. Too much cheese. Proto thrash at best.
Hey,
Fair
man.
enough. Stuart Pike, Anvil was influential, but no way thrash. Okay, we got the question marks. We got the question marks.
There's nothing cheesy about playing your guitar with a dildo. Let's be very real here. That is some real stuff.
Anyway, maybe we'll park Anvil for the moment. See how we proceed today. But Lisa, I understand there's another band where there's been a lot of debate on, and we've got one of our experts over at Revolver Magazine, now at Rolling Stone, our friend Brandon Geist, who has this to say about this band.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely elements of thrash in Pantera. I mean, you listen to a song like fucking Hostile. I mean, it's basically like a crossover hardcore / thrash song. Even though from my perspective, from my ear, I wouldn't necessarily call them a thrash band. But I mean, maybe if you want to argue that thrash really is more of a philosophy and ethos, maybe they are, a thrash band, because they certainly, of any band that was big in the 90s, they were the band that sort of had that thrash attitude that, that unlike Metallica didn't want to write an Enter Sandman. They didn't want to be a radio rock band. In fact, like you listen to Great Southern Trendkill, and they were adamant that they didn't want that. So, arguably, Pantera were a thrash band.
Back and forth there, a little bit of game of ping pong on the subject of Pantera, hard to pin down. What's your thoughts on Pantera?
He definitely didn't make it any easier for us. I like that he brings up fucking Hostile as a specific reference, because there is no doubt that is an absolutely balls to the wall crossover song. Sure. That drum beat and just the picking on that riff, the chugging, the muted. Pantera, their career spans so many different sounds. Can you say that Metallica's not a thrash band because they release Load and Saint Anger? I find you have the same argument with Pantera. Elements of groove metal, elements of glam back in, when they're doing projects and whatnot.
Yep.
Definite thrash and Nwabum sound on Cowboys, and then definite hardcore and nu metal sounds in the later years. They're all over the place. Vinnie Paul did hold it down pretty much their entire career with that thrash beat, though. So.
Well, let's see what the board says. Abraham Telemantes, yes. Lisa?
I was about to tell you the board's gonna explode.
Okay.
So please help us out here.
Let's lock some horns here. Abraham Telemantes, Pantera needs to go. They were never thrash. Let's remember the hair metal albums during the thrash period. Pantera would fall into groove, 90s metal, or the new wave of American metal, but not thrash. David Van Antony, start a groove metal branch with Pantera, Black Label Society, Machine Head. It's a good point.
Violence.
Another difficult band to place, and Lamb of God. Scotty Wells, Pantera needs to be removed and just give them their own branch. Haha. And it goes on. Ivinder Gauti is back. Pantera should not be on the list. That band was never thrash metal. At first they were glam, and later on they went into the groove metal genre. They were about as much thrash metal as baby metal. Ouch!
Burn!
Fighting words. Killing Fields 94. Goodbye, Pantera. Amazing band, but not on this list. And lastly, breathe. Scott Hitchinson says that groove metal is not a real genre. Uh-oh. Whoever made that up needs to be severely beaten with an aluminum bat.
Vicious.
Not wooden. Pantera was thrash's last leg of evolution. Pantera stays, Anvil goes. No shortage of opinions.
I love it. Metalheads are the best.
I do love it. Here, I mean, my 2 bits, you don't care, too bad, is that the new wave of American metal is actually a good consideration because many of the bands there belong in Lamb of God, Machine Head could be argued to belong there. So maybe we need to look at Pantera as the kind of godfather of the new wave of American metal.
I
I don't know, it's just a thought.
It's a good thought though. I find that a lot of people will credit Pantera with reinventing, if I can use that word, a genre. And, really, Dime was creating a bit of new metal with some of those riffs towards the end of the career. Man, like there's some very new metal stuff going on.
Right.
I think that they definitely are godfathers. Maybe they do belong in that category.
For me, it's about the tempo. Too much mid-paced material to be a thrash metal band.
Good point.
Lisa.
I'm going to recommend you write in a groove metal subgenre.
Oh, are you now?
I am, and move Pantera over there so we can get on to the other exciting matters at hand.
Okay,
Interesting.
let's give that a shot. We'll put that over here. Pantera, and we're going to add groove metal. Not a huge fan of that title, but
They can hang out over there with Kyle Thomas and Nix Horder.
Lisa has the bell, not me. So that's just the way it goes. So groove metal's up there. Sam Fallon. I mean, the entire issue with Pantera and the whole new wave of American metal branch exists because elitists refuse to acknowledge they like new metal or metalcore. Okay, tell us what you really think. I mean, maybe there's some merits, to groove metal. Yes, for me, don't belong in thrash, not enough thrash tempo. And I also think maybe the lyrical content doesn't quite fit, but we'll park them there. But what we're gonna do next is get your choice of who needs to be added.
Me?
Daniel Dekay, who needs to be added to the chart in your opinion?
So I put some good thought into this. I wanted to please and piss off as many people at the same time. Definitely thought about picking a Canadian band, as we're blessed to have so much Canadian stuff going on. Could it be Razor? Could it have been Annihilator? Could it have been Sacrifice? Or American stuff, Nuclear Assault, Violence? I thought about it all. But I did pick what I believe to be one of the originators and someone much like Anvil who is credited with helping begin the whole genre. And that's my Ottawa hometown boys, Exciter.
Here we go. Exciter's up there.
Man, without,
Good choice.
Without,
Good choice.
Without Dan Beeler's speed metal approach at drums, John Ricci, like those guys for me really did godfather this genre. And let's be real, Heavy Metal Maniac, it predates Kill 'Em All.
Yeah, good point. Although you might start a war here because you mentioned Nuclear Assault and I went, fuck, where are they? My apologies. Let's see what Mr. Unknown Person 64 has to say. He says, I say that Canadians invented thrash. The show just ended.
Done.
Exciter's first album came out before Metallica's Don't Get Me Started, about soldiers of misfortune.
Oh, baby, Sacrifice.
Okay, let's pause. Quiet moment. Let's move on. Fucking brilliant. Hello, Rob. Hope you're joining us. Let's see what everyone has to say. Maybe you're going to get some love for Exciter. Adam Wilkins says Exciter, yes. Alan Ketzer says yes with 3 S's. That's a lot. Paul Leach is back. Hello, Paul. Yes, Exciter. And Will Tappe simply says Exciter.
A lot of ours.
Yeah, that's a lot of ours. But I'm also seeing some Nuclear Assault in there, but I'm going to ignore them for the moment.
Let's put them up.
Let's put them up. They're there. Who are we putting up? Exciter. Exciter's on the board. We can stroke the magnet. Love the magnet. But Lisa, I understand out there are a bunch of other bands that need to be added.
Yeah,
or
we're not
considered.
done with Canada.
We're not done with Canada. Annihilator. Artur F. Castanha, welcome back. All that I want in this debate is for Annihilator to get the proper respect. Best in capitals, Canadian thrash metal band. Jeff Waters is an amazing guitarist who was never given proper respect from his peers, and Alice in Hell and Never Neverland are all-time thrash classics. Now, I know you're biased. Tell me about this connection to Jeff Waters.
I'm not really. I mean, I grew up in Ottawa, so it's a small town. So when you're in the music scene, you're really immersed in it. Whether you're young or old, you're just accepted into the family of Ottawa musicians. My best friend growing up and one of my bandmates when I played in Aggressor, Brian Stevenson, had the pleasure of playing bass in Annihilator during their 2007 era when they were doing that record Metal.
Yep.
Jeff came out to our gigs all the time. He hung out at the same local watering hole I did. I grew up down the street from him. Yes, this shirt came out of Jeff's basement in a hockey bag of dead stock Annihilator tour shirts.
Amazing.
He's the man.
I think we need a heavy metal family tree just for Daniel Dekay and all his complex and fascinating connections to the metal community. Chitalica, one. Hi, Sam. Hi. One that seems to be missing is Annihilator. Jeff Waters is one of the best tech thrash guitarists of all time. And Alice in Hell is a classic, been around for over 25 years too. Greg Shepard, Annihilator, not thrash. Awesome band, but definitely speed metal. Okay? Troy Ritter. Annihilator is important in thrash because they practically created and popularized technical thrash metal. Ricky Phillips. Annihilator definitely needs to be added, if only for the first two albums. Alice in Hell is a classic thrash album along with Never Neverland, and Jeff Waters is one of the best guitar players in the genre. Metal Church, too. West Coast. Come On. Beyond the Black. Ton of Bricks. I could go on. And Roy Robichaud. Annihilator deserve to be added. They have stood the test of time, and regardless how varied their body of work has been, the thrash element never really went away. Bam!
I dig it.
Yeah, we prepared the magnet.
That's right.
Of course we did. What else are we going to do in our spare time except prepare Annihilator magnets? Anyway, Lisa, who else? Okay, we heard about Metal Church. Hello, Seattle. Paul Leach, welcome. Metal Church. Because of their cult status in thrash metal's history, I lost you, they are metalheads metal. Not unlike Exodus or Overkill. Also, Razor, a Canadian thrash band forming in '84. They never had much commercial success, but most thrash fans agree they made a significant impact on the underground. And Jason DeVille, hey buddy, you can't get enough of this show or what? Our pal getting his word in. There is no question that Metal Church released the first proper thrash recording back in '81, a full year before Metallica's power metal demo. You know when DeVille steps in, you're sort of like, gotta do my research. Okay, I think we gotta add some bands here. We knew we'd do a lot of writing this week. Firstly, I think we got Metal Church.
Metal Church.
Metal Church. Metal Church. And who else? We have Annihilator. We got Metal Church. Metal Church MV Unit 3 is back. Metal Church is the only church you know the time is right. Nice. Make the t-shirt. That's awesome. Okay. It just keeps on rolling. What are your thoughts on Metal Church?
Metal Church deserves to be on the tree.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
It just, now we're entering into this realm of classic bands.
Yeah.
Where I don't know where do we draw the line on how many classic bands can we fit on the thrash tree.
Yeah. It's just, here's the thing. It is the one genre on the tree that leads to the most genres.
Yeah.
And it's also the genre where we already put more bands on than all the others. I think we had kind of like 10 to 12. Like, you can only fit so many fucking bands on a piece of paper. But I think we upped it to like 14 or something ridiculous. Anyway, point being, it matters.
I think by we you mean you.
Yeah. Selfishly, I love it. Flotsam and Jetsam. Jason Cunningham says, Flotsam and Jetsam are one of the best thrash metal bands ever born, founded in the early 80s, and are about to release another album in 2016. Just thought of Sacred Reich. Chitalica 1, thinking about Flotsam Jetsam also, it must be a Phoenix thing. I just clued into Arizona. The first 4 albums were thrash indeed. Doomsday for the Deceivers, thrash all out, although they shifted a bit during Quattro, still around too. Now, let's remember, I think they have to be bands to have some sort of influence and impact.
Right.
Flotsam and Jetsam, obviously there's the Newstead connection, but I don't know how much they set in motion.
Listen, I think that with bands like Flotsam and Jetsam, if we start considering them, we have to give everyone fair consideration. We got to consider Heathen. We got to consider Exhumer.
Hyrax.
Come on, like, so I just, for me, that's what I said about drawing the line somewhere. It's the thrash tree. Where do we want to draw the line on? You know,
it was a massive explosion. It was a gigantic explosion. And I think we forget just how big it was, mid 80s, late 80s, and it's still going. Nick Ottaviano is back, a little less known, but definitely worth mentioning are also Forbidden. Yeah.
Forbidden Evil.
So amazing. Nuclear Assault and Violence for keeping the scene alive in the underground during the grunge explosion in the early 90s.
Totally.
Fair, there was some great Eternal Nightmare, fucking great record. Dude. Brentford Bob on Twitter says, you've missed Violence and Forbidden, responsible for the 2 best debut albums of the genre. and MV Unit 3 puts forbidden in capitals with spaces between the capitals. So it just makes it look even fucking more epic. Banger Rules, clearly a staff member, gonna find out who you are. Add Violence and Forbidden, amazing bands coming from the same place and the same time and influenced everyone. Tough. Do we add Forbidden and not Flotsam and Jetsam? Do we add Violence? Where do we draw the line?
Dude, it's tough.
Don't know. I don't know. Lisa, help me out here.
Cutting in.
What the hell are we supposed to do?
I think we'll just park this and just maybe
Move on.
Move on to Germany.
Let's move on to Germany. We didn't even talk about Dark Angel.
Dude, we didn't talk about Dark Angel. We didn't really talk about Nuclear Assault.
This might be the first episode I actually cry because of all the bands we can't add. Let's move on. Most of what you see, yes.
After this, we're still getting together for beers and record collection sorting, right? Yeah, cool.
Most of the bands we've been talking about so far, all of the bands we've been talking about so far are from North America. But we all know that there's a country on the other side of the Atlantic pond that has created some of the finest thrash metal, and of course I'm talking about Germany. Here's a clip from our buddy Schmier.
We're not the Hollywood department of metal, you know. I think German metal was always a little bit more rough, nasty, not as commercial. All the American bands, like from day one, were the better players, and they had the better productions, you know. But the German sound was always a little bit more punky, a little bit more fire, you know. And I think we never wrote songs to be like make commercial music. We wrote songs because we were pissed off.
Okay, if there was a god of German thrash, Schmier is there, Mila, of course, of Creator, we love you. I love that band. Talk to me about German thrash.
It always had something that the North American thrash bands didn't have. It was, I don't know if it had to be because of where these guys were born and the upbringing. It just made the music so much more aggressive and angrier. They didn't care about petty things like, you know, hairdos and what t-shirts they were wearing and bullet belts. They were so much more about I don't want to use the word grunge, I hate that word, a rough appearance, and you know, the production was not nearly as sexy as some of the early Bay Area bands. Sure. The music's faster, the riffs are darker, it's a much more aggressive style of thrash, Teutonic thrash as it's called.
Much more extreme.
It's way more extreme. Yeah. It's its own breed of thrash metal, absolutely.
For sure. I mean, songs about war, the sense that they lived it, something about being European, you're that much closer, I think, to a lot of the things that the thrash metal bands like to sing about. And of course, when you're talking about a band like Creator, you're really kind of ratcheting up the political commentary, you know, albums like Extreme Aggression and of course Pleasure to Kill and all those classics. What else, Lisa? Do we have all of the German bands on the board?
Apparently not.
Okay.
Apparently we need to add Tankard.
Okay, here we go. Luca, Hope, Fallon. The fact that you've got Sodom, Creator, and Destruction on there, but not Tankard, is pretty weird to me, considering how unified those four were in the German scene. Okay, claims for a big four of Germany. I always call it the big three. Tankard was the one band out of that lot that felt more traditional thrash. Alex Bergstrom definitely needs more Tankard. Daniel, no last name. What are you, Brazilian soccer player? Tankard should be on there. They are part of the big Teutonic Four. However, you could make it a big five when you add Holy Moses. Might be stretching it there. Controller of Minds, Tankard must be mentioned. They may be alcoholic, but they certainly are one of the big Teutonic ones too. Too damn underestimated and fun to watch live. Tankard.
Listen, if we're gonna give North America a shot at having their big four, I think we should throw a Teutonic big four on there too.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Get Tankard. Totally. That's what I always like to say. That's what I do in my spare time.
You've never said that.
Shit, I misspelt it.
It's okay.
Oh,
the people watching
so much
at home
dead air.
Can't see all the spelling mistakes that we see on the comments, so you're allowed to make one too.
Sam Fallon, Exhumer, please. Tankard are such a traditional thrash band that might as well be any of the American bands. Exhumer are quintessential. They're darker and more furious than the American lot. Tyler Levin, get Holy Moses up there. 4 reasons. 1, solidify the German scene. 2, push for extreme vocals. 3, open the doors for women in extreme metal. 4, first recordings in 1980 before Metal Church. Admittedly, I don't really have an opinion about Holy Moses, but they seem kind of marginal. But
For me, it was like, as you say, it was either the Teutonic 3 or 4. For me, it was always, I'd heard about the Teutonic 4, and it always included Tankard. I never really saw Holy Moses to be included in that. Maybe I've been blind my entire career as a thrash head, but I'd like to think that my opinion is somewhat valid in saying that X on the Holy Moses and stick with Tankard.
I'm going to X it too. I think maybe just it comes back to that influence, that legacy, not really having a strong influence on subsequent bands. Frankly, I'd just like to stand here and talk about Destruction all day, but probably Lisa should ring the bell. What are we doing next, Lisa? Help me out here.
Well, it's a time it's going to be controversial. It's the time to move away from the classics and into the modern day and talk about what is new in thrash.
So, Daniel, there's been a bit of a resurgence, if you will, a certain kind of celebration, shall we say, in newer bands for the classic thrash sound and look. Tell me, who are these bands and what's your observation?
Absolutely, and it's really cool because for me, I was at a very impressionable age in 2007 when Thrashing Like a Maniac, a 2007 compilation from Earache Records came out. Now this is, in my opinion, the start of the revival of thrash metal. It featured Municipal Waste, Evil, Warbringer, Toxic Holocaust, the list goes on. It had signed and unsigned bands. And this comp, I listened to it 100 times over.
Right.
It for me really opened the door for that revival. So
cool.
Evil for me was the one to enter the grave. It's produced by this guy named Flemming Rasmussen. You guys might know him from 3 tiny records he produced. Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All. Was that what they were called?
No big deal.
Yeah. So he did that first Evil record. For me, they were the guys. They're leading, spearheading that whole revival, starting in 2007.
Right. Very cool. It's like Grind Crusher was for me with Earache in the 80s for death metal and grindcore. Let's go to the board and see what the board has to say about what we might call neo-thrash, or maybe it's just thrash. Abraham Talamentes is back. I think no new bands need to be added because bands like Municipal Waste, to name one, seem to be a thrash revival or gimmick band. Thrash falls into a look, musical style, and time period. Thrash bands still exist, but not the genre. Long live Banger. Long live Abraham. Motor Venom says Municipal Waste started the entire modern thrash thing. Fair enough. Jim Kobach, thrash is alive and well with the old bands putting out quality shit like Overkill, Exodus, Death Angel, Slayer, not so sure, Anthrax, and Megadeth, not so sure, and the newer bands cranking out killer thrash, Havoc, Evil, and Chrysix. Yeah, so not everyone is agreeing.
No, well, I think that there was that movement in 2007, and unfortunately, a bunch of those bands kind of never really did much. I think Evil's not even really a band anymore.
Right, yeah.
But there are a ton of new bands who are getting good mention. There's Vector, there's Ex Mortis, Havoc that's been mentioned. You know, Havoc just finished a tour with Megadeth, so they're finally getting the recognition they deserve. I think that there are a ton of awesome underground signed thrash metal bands right now, and do they belong on the tree is a whole other argument.
Well, here's another question. I mean, do they warrant? Is it just thrash? Is it something different? Is it strictly nostalgia? Are they doing anything different? Is this something? Is this evolution, or is just this more the same thing?
It's a very, very interesting question. I think that it goes almost for all music, but a lot in thrash. The modern thrash bands, like especially ones like Revocation, they have to bring something so much more extreme and almost brutal in a sense. You know, there's these new production tricks. You can basically just compose a song, walk into a studio, and thanks to computers, you sound tighter than ever, you sound heavier than ever.
Right.
I think that the evolution that thrash has taken is really just natural, like with any other style of music. Production's better, and everyone wants more extreme vocal styles and wants more extreme riffs and shredding and harmonies and guys with 7-string guitars.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's only just a gimmick and a revival. I think that there is some solid mutation going on within the genre.
Fair enough, and I'm not going to make a lot of friends with this comment, but I actually think that early, not to complicate things, but that's what I like to do. The Haunted, Soilwork, some of those The Crown, some of those early Swedish bands were actually creating thrash metal. That to me was an evolution of the genre. Park that thought, because they always get lumped in with death metal, and I'm not sure that that's actually accurate, because there was a lot of speed and a lot of politics, particularly in the early records. Enough. Havoc, too many to mention. Vector, ? Anthony Petrillo. 3 of the bands at the forefront of modern thrash are Revocation, Vector, and Silosis. They managed to retain identifiable thrash elements in their sounds while adding their own unique styles to move the genre forward. They also avoid the re-thrash, re-thrash style that many other modern thrash bands like Havoc, Lost Society, and Toxic Holocaust are paying. Pardon the pun, Metal Church is so heavy they fell off the board. Stay there. Carry on. Frank, it just fell. Too heavy for the board. It's official. Metal Church. Frank Potvin. Vector is a great new band. You're right. Review on Overkill Reviews coming up. That new fucking record is intense. Vector is a great new band. Opened for Voivod here in Toronto a couple months ago, and love them horns up. Sam Fallon, I don't think Vector is as techy as people give them credit for. Don't get me wrong, I love them, but I feel like they're very traditional thrash. Charlie 0x0 says that add Vector or add technical thrash to the tree. Nick Glover, Havoc is one of the bands reviving thrash metal along with Lost Society and Vector, so a lot of love for Vector.
Dude, they're wicked. They're a wicked band.
Sci-fi, right?
Absolutely.
They've got these kind of theme records and fucking
much like Bonded by Blood was doing when they were still a thing.
As anything. Now, am I going to make a lot of enemies by putting Vector up and not Municipal Waste, not Evil?
Yes, I think we're going to make enemies whichever way we go about it, which is why the beauty of the show. Vector kicks ass, though, and there's no reason why we shouldn't acknowledge it.
I just want to fucking write Vector in the metal script because it feels so good. Rockstar, 1123, 3 Inches of Blood. Carried the torch for thrash for a long time. Maybe a little power metal-y for this chart. Since their departure, Holy Grail has picked it up, and the new metal proves they're kicking ass and taking names. Don't dispute. Holy Grail.
Wicked band.
Holy Grail.
Not for this chart, I don't think. Wicked band, their new record kicks ass.
Michael Kent, Municipal Waste needs to be on there, on here, although gimmicky, they were/are hugely important in bringing thrash back to relevance. I think we've got to acknowledge Municipal Waste.
The art of partying, man.
Whether they belong here or we deserve another chart, I'm just gonna write MW because it takes so long. Yeah, gotta be recognized. Chips, 96. I. Revocation needs to be on the tree because they are probably one of the biggest new thrash bands to come out in the past decade. Also, their sound is new and fresh while still being thrash. I think that's a key point. Yeah. And that's what I'm hearing in Vector.
Absolutely.
Bands like Revocation, really ratcheting up the technical aspect. It's not just straightforward. And maybe I'm a little biased towards it because I don't just feel it's an opportunity to wear denim and patches and a flipped up suicidal hat. But that's just me, and I'm old and grumpy. But Revocation.
A band like Revocation too offered for me kind of what Testament had for me back in when I first heard them was it's like total guitar porn.
Yep.
It's absolutely dual shredding, harmonies, complex technical riffs. They're a wicked band. They're amazing.
Okay, Boboli. Municipal Waste. Of any of these bands from the retro thrash resurgence, we've got like...
Dude, all these things.
Re-thrash, retro thrash, neo-thrash, take your pick. I believe they most embody the energy and fun spirit of the scene's advent in early Exodus, Metallica, Anthrax, and Slayer. I mean, it's true.
Surfboard mosh pit.
You don't always hear the legends first, right? When you get into this music, you often discover the bands that are contemporary.
Totally.
I heard I heard Slayer before I heard Diamond Head.
Right.
And I think we have to respect that people are different ages, people have different entry points. It's a valid point. Yes.
I'm kind of afraid to point this one out because I don't want to still be here tomorrow, Sam Dunn, but here's one for you.
Lee Stabline, are we not even going to mention Lamb of God? They seem pretty thrashy to me. Also, we really need to discuss Trivium. So, Lamb of God is a great fucking band. They continue to make great records. I have a lot of respect for them. Where they belong, we put them in the new wave of American metal. What do you think?
I believe that Lamb of God and Trivium both belong in the new wave of American metal. I think that you've done a sound job with establishing that. They're both wicked bands, make wicked records to date.
Yeah.
But just because they got a couple thrashy sounding beats and some fast chugging riffs doesn't make them a thrash band, guys.
And I would say my argument would be that by slotting a band like Lamb of God into thrash would actually be doing them a discredit, because I think they actually created something that was a bit different.
Something very
It was
modern.
a bit of Pantera, a bit of Megadeth and Testament,
Totally.
and kind of thrown in with Randy's kind of more punk rock vocal sensibility. So I don't think they should be in there because I think that it just limits them. That's my opinion.
And you've got Chris Adler playing in Megadeth anyway, so they're
There you
basically
go.
on the board.
Covering
We're
their
good.
bases. Trivium, I agree. Not a thrash band.
Nope.
Let's move on. Nikos Kazakos. Havoc, please. They're a modern band who sound very much influenced by the early Bay Area thrash scene, but they are putting their own unique sound on it and shredding Pixel. I will be pissed off if Havoc and Vector don't make it and Voivod is missing. How? We don't want anyone to be pissed off.
No. Or do we?
Yeah, I think that Havoc is like overwhelmingly
Okay,
yes.
we're going to
from the
add
chat.
Havoc.
You know what? Havoc's really proven themselves to stand the test of time. This isn't their first record. They're amazing musicians. I think that Reese Scruggs is one of the best shredders in the metal scene right now. David Sanchez, Pete Weber, they're all amazing musicians. I've had the chance to play shows with them. They're an amazing group. If you don't have their latest record, pick it up. Havoc's the shit.
I think we need to invest in some better magnets. I don't want to create a diversion here, but they're peeling off here. It's getting hot in the banger bar. The magnets are fucking curling on the board.
It's hot as hell tonight.
Voivod, not a thrash band, so much more. Yeah, Roar. Yeah, War and Pain were by and large thrash metal albums, but they're so much more. They're a progressive metal band.
Absolutely.
End of story. Here's our final thoughts. Superjoint asks, can we all agree on one thing? I feel a thrash hug coming on. We need a bigger board. We need 40 bands at least. Not our fault. Most thrash bands are great. Get a bigger board or make 3 episodes. Or both.
I'll see you next week.
Yep, let's fucking do it. Lisa, is that it for this week?
I believe we're done.
Okay, we added a lot of bands.
Dude, we did.
We did well. Pantera moved over. I think rightly so. We added Annihilator and Exciter. Been around for a long time, including Metal Church. And we've added Tankard to the German scene. And we've added a host of new bands, including Havoc, which just hit the floor.
And, people are going to still talk about Violence and Dark Angel and Battlecross
Oh,
and stuff.
man,
In our
Violence.
absence, they can
No, and
continue
everyone
to
kept
talk
mentioning
about it.
Machine Head, and I'm like, the Rob Flynn, Phil Devil connection. How can we not mention Violence? Ah, dude.
We're parking Violence.
They're the best, though.
We're
We
parking
still love
Dark
them.
Angel. We're parking fucking Forbidden. Oh, man.
Did Exhumer make... Oh, no, Exhumer didn't... Oh, fuck.
Thanks, buddy.
Dude, thanks.
That was awesome.
This has been awesome.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. That was a great episode. Something tells me this isn't the end of the thrash debate. Reminder, we're archived on our YouTube channel, Banger TV, if you want to see this and all the other stuff we've been doing. Thanks to the off-camera crew, Daniel, Lisa, Lana, and Andrew. We're back next week, Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Natalie Zed is joining us for Stoner and Sludge Metal. Subscribe to Banger TV. Check us out on Apple Music. See you next time on Lock Horns.